we'll work our way down, right? And then the next question, if Jennifer is here, I think she'll get the first question and work our way down. And then Jenna will get the next question to start. So everybody will get the question first, and everybody will get to be last. And then when we go to closing arguments, there will be Noah back to Rose. Okay? If you have any questions, who's collecting the questions? Anybody? Bring them up here. Okay? So there's 2 microphones there. You're going to have to share them. Okay? 3 people share this one.
Push it all the way up.
Push it all the way up.
Both of them.
You try it like this.
No, just
Try
push
it
it
like
all
this.
the way up.
All the way up.
No, push it all the way up.
Testing, testing.
Thank you.
It's harder. Okay. So if you would watch the timers over there, right? They'll tell you when you're getting close to the end.
So good evening, everybody. Thank you to the Tea Party for having us tonight. Good evening. It's great to be here, and I'm around good company. I know I'm around people that genuinely care about the direction our city's going, and it's a privilege and honor to be here. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name's Rose Dwyer, and I'm running for Virginia Beach City School Board, District 1. I'm a former appointee school board member in another city. I served as a PTA president in another city. I don't know why it's so hard to talk, but I'll get there. I've also served in a prison ministry, children's church, youth leader. I was a youth director at one time. My children went to public schools, and I graduated from public schools. And my children, 3 of them graduated from the school that I served in as a board member. And so what I'm saying is I have a lot of experience in the community. Whenever there was volunteer work needed, I was there for anything that they needed me for. Band, fundraiser, soccer mom, you name it. And I was glad to do it. It was a great experience. And so going forward, I believe I have the skills right now to serve on that board. I was in a building plan. We did build two new schools, and we renovated 2. And it went really well. And they're telling me I have 15 seconds, and so I'll stop there. Thanks.
Okay, Shannon.
I'm using all my 2. Okay, yep. Good evening, everyone. Shannon Kendrick, District 4, sitting school board member. And since my appointment this year, I've learned that we have challenges on our board that I need to remain on the board to help resolve, such as unfunded mandates from 3 levels of government. As you all know, the school board, we're not able to raise our own tax revenue. So this becomes an issue, along with the urgent decisions on infrastructure that we have to make improvements on. Teacher retention and satisfaction. We're second from the bottom of starting salaries for our teachers in the region. And then there's students in the middle. There's students who are in the gifted category or the remedial category, but there's students who have challenges with special needs, socioeconomic disadvantages that we need to find solutions for. And then career development. I'm interested in making sure that we prepare our students for future careers and making sure that they have training that would give them trade opportunities with the job opportunities that we currently have in the region. Essentially, I want to bring my experience to bear. I was a senior vice president at the Hampton Roads Economic Development Alliance. I brought jobs to Hampton Roads. I'm a business owner and I'm an MBA. I understand budgets, numbers, and being fiscally responsible is something of real importance in making sure that our resources are distributed the right way and that we're solving a lot of the challenges that I mentioned on time and on budget. And I was just selected to be the legislative chair on our school board. And with my 6 years of being a congressional district director, I think the relationships that I've had on the federal, state, and local government will definitely bring value. And finally, I love working with all of my colleagues. I bring a collegial spirit. One of my colleagues is here now. And I believe that the citizens of Virginia Beach want to see us getting things done for them, not fighting against each other. So I want to bring the tone of civility to the work. Thank you. Shannon Kendrick, School Board.
Hey, so I'm probably not going to use all of my 2 minutes. My name is Vincent Smith. I am here to introduce myself for District 5. If you don't know where that is, it's kind of centered around the Red Mill area. I was born here in Hampton Roads in 1970, spent my primary school years in West Virginia, my secondary school years in Northern Virginia, circled back here looking for work about 15 years ago and have been here ever since. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Virginia, but I started off my career as a tradesman. I was a welder up until about 15 years ago, got hurt in the course of work, and part of my recuperation involved not picking up heavy stuff. Anybody ever met a welder who does not pick up heavy things to make a living? So I had to go back to school, became an engineer, and now I work here for the city of Virginia Beach. I manage the quality of the capital horizontal construction in this city. It's about $300 million underway right now. And I'm also married to a lovely teacher from our school system, and I hear a lot from her and her friends. Well, thank y'all. That's very kind of you. I do hear from her and her friends about what the teachers' needs are and what the students' needs are, and all I want to do is bring some balance to the board and some of my technical knowledge. Like Shannon said, and I call out Shannon now so she gets 30 extra seconds. Yes. We do have an infrastructure issue here in the city. We're not recuperating our capital budget as fast as we can. It's a problem that's being pushed down the road right now, and we're going to have to fix it because we have 86 schools that are aging faster than we're dealing with it. I have the professional background to be able to handle that problem. I appreciate all of you being here to listen to us do tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, last but not least, my name is Noah Moreland. I'm running for school board here in not here in District 7, but over in District 7. That's kind of Centerville, Indian River, some Apparel Parkway, Salem, that kind of area. But for me, I've been born and raised right here in Virginia Beach. You know, I'm 26 years old. I've lived here my entire life. My parents have lived here most of their lives, and my grandparents on my mom's side lived here most of their lives before they passed away. So I like to say that my family has about 100 years of history in this city. You know, I attended Virginia Beach City Public Schools all throughout K through 12. I was in the Legal Studies Academy at First Colonial, and then when I graduated, I went to Old Dominion University. I got a bachelor's in criminal justice there. And, you know, coming out of college, though, I ended up working in the utility industry. Is what I currently do now, damage prevention for underground utility lines. So I'm living proof of our need for the school system to really show students the options that they have outside of university. University works for a lot of people, and it can be great. My fiance is living proof. She has 2 master's degrees and is working on her PhD right now, and it can be amazing. But for me, someone who ended up going to university, ended up working in the utility industry, and it's something I actually find I enjoy doing, and there's a lot of money to be made. You know, some of the other candidates here, they've talked about our infrastructure problems in the city. The schools have millions of dollars in back maintenance that we need to get to, and I think being fiscally responsible with the way the school system spends their money and focusing on getting these problems fixed and maybe even remodeling some of our schools rather than spending money on giant new schools that we don't even have the students to fill could be a great benefit for everyone. Not to mention, I think I bring a much different perspective of someone as young as I am, having only graduated about 7-8 years ago now from the public school system. I know what it's like. Thank you.
Okay, well, I forgot Monty, because he was in the middle there, so Monty will be the last one to speak on the opening comments, so.
Diana, take the other mic.
Oh, 1 minute. I think this mic is better. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Monty Eshelman. Thank you, Diana, the Virginia Beach Tea Party, for the invitation to be here, and I appreciate all of your time. As I said, Monty Eshelman, I'm running for the at-large seat on the Virginia Beach School Board, so it will be an open seat as the incumbent is not running for re-election. So I look forward to the opportunity to serve the school board as the at-large from Virginia Beach. I've got over 32 years of experience and just recently retired after 32 plus years of active duty service as a naval aviator. I went to the United States Naval Academy and graduated in 1990, went to flight school. My first duty station was here in Virginia Beach in 1992. And my family and I have lived all over this great nation and the world, and we early on knew that Virginia Beach was a wonderful community that we wanted to live in and where we wanted to raise a family. And I want to make sure that the Virginia Beach City Public Schools are a strongly established asset and one of the great attributes of this wonderful community. I'll bring strong representation, collaboration, as well as effective leadership, which is what my entire 32 plus year career has been about. I want to make sure that we recognize academic excellence of our students. Students will set the bar wherever we set it. So we need to set it so our future community leaders are best prepared for moving forward. I believe in parental involvement and parental rights. We shouldn't be hiding anything from them. There should be complete transparency. The education and development of our students continues, as well as fiscal responsibility and support of our teachers. Let them teach other expertise to do what they need to. Top Gun instructor is absolutely the pinnacle of education in the United States Navy, as well as commanding officer of squadron, commanding officer of a naval air station, which involved a lot of other collaborative opportunities to make sure that we support the mission, which here is students first. So again, thank you all for your time.
Okay, so we'll start the questions, and the questions will be 1 minute answer. Okay, and we'll start with Shannon. And so the first question is, the Virginia Beach Public Schools have a generous annual budget of over 1.13 million, with scores of senior administrators receiving salaries of over 120,000. While many of the schools employees earn minimum wage. Further, the median income of struggling Virginia Beach residents is $53,000. Additionally, over the past 18 months, the school board considered a contract for 3 schools rebuilds totaling approximately $700 million and spent $50 million. We are now to responsibly allocate funds for Virginia Beach Public Schools. What would be your priorities?
Wow.
That was a good question. Good and long, very complex. So thank you for having me here tonight, and I do apologize for my tardiness. I was with my constituents at an event on my tri-campus. One of the schools is a part of the plan that we're looking at, either building or changing up, but one of those 3 schools that you mentioned. I do think it is important for us to look at the salaries of the staff. When you lay out the numbers like that, it looks pretty top heavy on the administrative end. It's important that we make sure that those who actually administer and run our schools and teach receive the salaries they need, especially with the cost of living that we have here in Virginia Beach. So we're working at creative solutions to try to ensure that we responsibly fund the infrastructure changes that are required in our city, and also ensuring that I'm out of time, but we're working on it. And I want to make sure that the salaries do get increased, and we have done it in salary increase.
Okay, visit.
All right, so here's how an engineer answers questions a little more succinctly. No offense, just saying. Yeah, sorry. We are too top heavy at the top. We are too top heavy by dollar amounts at the top. Our organizational chart is too wide at the top. We need to standardize our building designs. If you take the entire student population and bring each school's population to its capacity, we could close 5 schools right now. I am not proposing reducing staff. I am not proposing reducing teacher positions. I'm saying that we need to really decide, do we need new schools right now? We do need to replace and modernize the old schools. We have some schools that are just flat out too old, and we shouldn't have students in some of them. But we can fix these problems. It won't be without pain.
Noah?
So the high school I was in when I was in Virginia Beach Public Schools was First Colonial High School. It was a school that was built in the 60s. And back when I was in high school, it had issues and stuff like that. And I think Vincent Ismail had it really comes down to consolidation. You look at even just the birth rate in our city, we have a negative birth rate. We have less students applying to be in the schools every year, so we shouldn't even be thinking about building new buildings. I think the bones of the buildings are good, and as long as we catch up on the maintenance, and then we can work on future-proofing the current schools that are there, bringing students over, students and staff from other schools into other buildings and stuff like that, and, technological improvements and stuff like that, so that they can last, even decades into the future longer than they actually have. So, thank you.
Okay. Monty?
Good evening, and thank you again. I appreciate that. I would say, first of all, my initial reaction is not additional taxes. Right? I think we have a lot of fiscal responsibility that we can do by holding people accountable that are not being fiscally responsible with those precious taxpayer assets. I agree with Vincent, and that we need to have a unified facilities code so that way we have a standard, square footage per student, what are the requirements, and also making sure that we're working and providing the inputs which that unified code would absolutely do, so that we don't have bidders coming to the table after already having spent millions of dollars. And so I think that is the initial actions that I would take. You include there are additional employees that come with extra square footage. So I'm certainly not about cutting employees, but we don't want to be hiring employees that we don't need. So that's what it is, not looking at taxes first, looking to hold people accountable, unified codes, and then that'll take care of some of the employees when it fits the student body. Thank you.
Okay, Rose?
So fiscal responsibility, right on. And our students need to come first, our teachers. I agree with what he just said. I believe when people hear, especially developers, that we have a $1.2 billion budget, I'm sure that fascinates them. But we have to be fiscally responsible. And no joke, I heard that in the last 15 years, re-enrollment has gone down by 10,000 students. So yeah, we need to roll up our sleeves and get creative. We need people on that board that'll sit in agreement and be wary of the fact we represent that voter and their hard-earned dollar. And yeah, no new taxes.
Okay, the first question now will go to Vincent, and this is on VOTEC training. Okay, do you support VOTEC training as an alternative to traditional college prep for high school students?
Absolutely. I used to earn my living as a tradesman. It's where I started off in this world. And I would promote and strongly promote and do everything I can to even out the focus on vocational prep, college prep, and military prep in our schools. I'm not saying it's not that way now, but I think we need to have more vocational opportunities at all of our schools. We have a great vocational school down at is that West Neck Road? But we do need to have some of those opportunities without an hour-long bus ride.
Noah?
Yeah, I would of course support upping our VOTEC center. For me, I remember when I was in high school, really the only option that you're shown is college. It's assumed. You hear about colleges, what colleges are you applying to, where you want to go, have you sent in your applications, and you don't even really mention the VOTEC center or trade school or maybe even an apprenticeship or something like that. And from where I am now, if I could go back, I would honestly explore something like that. Because I deal with contractors every day and the people working on maintenance projects throughout the city, and they're constantly desperate for new, hardworking, smart individuals. And you can easily jump into one of those jobs, gain a skill, and then maybe leave and even start your own business. So I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of students that would, I think, be even interested in it in the first place if they even knew about it.
Okay, Monty?
Good evening, thank you. I would absolutely support it. I think it's extremely important. When you look at the percentages of individuals that actually, that are going to college for a variety of reasons, it's not for everyone. And I think one of the things, if we look at positives that we can take away from the pandemic, if you look at a lot of the crucial jobs that are out there that require trade expertise to make sure that our communities go, our states go, that our nations go. And so I think that those interests, that fit the spectrum of the student should absolutely give all students opportunities for their interests to move forward. should all be focused on collegiate or undergraduate initially, especially when they may not know what they're interested in studying. And that's spending a lot of resources before they know, but they absolutely may have interest in knowing what they want to do for their trade. So absolutely, I support the Houston Sports Act. Thank you.
Okay, Rose?
So yes, I agree with what's been said so far, and we need to consider the student. Each student has their own skill set, their own talents. They're all on a different career path, educational path. And as a mom, I raised 5 children. 3 were in the gifted program, and that worked out well for them. And 2 went to VOTech. 1 became a nurse, an RN with a BSN. She took health science. And the other became a hairdresser. She got her own business. So we need to be aware of the fact that each student is on a different path, and we need to be respectful of that. And we need to encourage that. That's a good thing.
Okay, Jennifer, you weren't here for the question, so let me give you the question. It was, do you support VOTech training as an alternative to traditional college prep for high school students?
100%. I am someone who sits on the board and went a very non-traditional route. I served 22 years in the military, and so I still don't have my college degree. I did go to college right after high school, but I love the fact that our division has got 3 pillars: enlist, which I've done, enroll, which I've done, and employ, and I've been working in the workforce. So for me, having workforce opportunities is incredibly important in this division. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we lead the state in providing certifications to our students. In fact, we just went to a new opening at our CTC Center for welding, which is so exciting because it was also included with our workforce partners, the Navy. And so we're providing real futures for these kids, and that is amazing to me. 100% I support workforce development.
And Shannon?
I support it as well, and I echo everything my colleague Jennifer said. I came from a single-parent home. I didn't have a college fund saved up for me, and I took 7 years before I actually got to go to college. And I went to school a half a day and did VOTech. I learned finance at a furniture store, and I worked my way up. And then I got to put myself through school. It took me a long time to pay off those student loans, and I don't want to put that albatross on our kids' necks when they should have opportunities. There's plenty of jobs here in Hampton Roads and trades that we need to be supportive of and align our curriculum to prepare our students to take advantage of those good paying jobs starting out from graduation.
Okay, Noah, you be first on the next question. What are your plans for improving classroom discipline and removing disruptive students from classrooms to include transferring to Renaissance Center?
So the current system of discipline in the schools, I've spoken with tons of teachers about this. There's a system called PBIS. Essentially, it makes the teachers spend way more time on the students that are causing the distraction in class. It takes away classroom time, and I think we need to just work on looking at getting rid of it entirely. When I was in school, you acted out too much, you got sent to the principal's office. I think the current system, more so than just being a disruption, it takes away from the other students that are working hard in class and actually trying to learn, and they can't focus. And so I think the primary cause of it is the system they have now, PBIS, and I think we need to look at revamping that, getting rid of it, or looking at new systems.
Okay, Monty?
Hey, Vince.
Yeah, absolutely. Negative behavior in the classroom affects all the students, right? It affects the teachers, so it affects the schools, so it's going to impact their educational experience. I think it starts in the classroom with supporting the teachers, right? The administration has to support the teachers. A principal or an administrator coming into the classroom and asking Johnny to come with them so they can go play a game in the principal's office. Certainly not saying that there needs to be stern language with them, but sometimes it sounds like a reward, and students are going to take it like a reward. So we need the backing of the teachers by the administration, because there may be parents that may not think that their child is misbehaving, but the administrators have got to be behind the teachers because that's where it's going to start in our public schools before we go anywhere else, versus asking them to wear pillows, bring them down to play games, or anything else that's not really stifling the negative behavior or setting the example. Thank you.
Okay, Rose?
So not to be repetitious and reiterate what my fellow candidates just spoke, I agree. The punishment should fit the crime. The burden should not be put on the teacher as she's trying to teach and keep the students focused on learning. And you mentioned Renaissance School. I believe we still need it. We have to give these kids a second chance, give these students a second chance. We just can't expel them. I'm not sure what that whole entire process looks like, but we definitely need to improve our disciplinary actions, and we need to be more supportive of the teachers and maybe take our P's and Q's from them.
Jen? Oh, Jennifer. So, you're next.
All right. Well, this is a very tough issue. This is actually one of the things I ran on, was discipline. I really was interested in figuring out where it was, and I 100% agree with the fact that administration has got to support teachers. That has to be, and it has to be consistent in our schools, and we have to make sure that there is an understanding. We also need collaboration with parents. We think about the parents that actually, are supporting the schools, supporting the teachers, but there are parents, and you have to know this, that are not. So we have got to work with the parents to make sure they understand the value of having discipline in the classrooms, because again, it does impact the whole classroom when we have to focus on one child. And I absolutely, if anybody knows me, they know that I am 100% behind the Renaissance Academy. We are doing amazing things there. I'm going to tell you a big story at the end of my closing remark, but I love Renaissance Academy, and I'm so glad we have it.
Shannon?
Yeah, it's important to make sure that we're not taking away from instruction because of disciplinary issues. And the teachers do need to be supported, and there does need to be collaboration with the parents. And speaking with the parents in my district, primarily where Renaissance Academy is located, a lot of the parents in my district feel that their children have been disproportionately sent to Renaissance Academy. And so there's another aspect that we need to look at this with. And then when they go to Renaissance Academy, they're not getting the same level of education that they would have had when they were in their school. And so they're behind when they come back. So it's a complex situation, but we need to ensure that the students who are there to learn get to learn undistracted.
Vincent?
So let's talk about an orderly classroom instead of discipline. The teachers must have an orderly classroom for every student in the classroom to access their education. Who's the adults here? Our staff, our administration, right? So if we don't have an orderly classroom, I don't think we can unfairly push that as a student's responsibility. But we do have a team there that does include the parents, like we've heard here before. But we also have to recognize that the teachers would do this if they could by themselves, but they can't, and they need more support from administration.
Okay, now the fourth question, we'll start with Monty. Okay, the Biden administration proposed changes to Title IX, including defining discrimination as based on gender identity. This leads to the possibility of biological males, transition or not in female sports. What is your position on protecting women's sports? And there was another question on, do you support the enforcement of preferred pronouns?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's absolutely we should not be discriminating against one group of people to support another group of people. All people are equal, and I think all people should be treated equally. However, we can't discriminate, so we need to make sure that there should not be biological males in women's sports. I mean, there's lots of things that go into that, and so we should not support that. And then I believe, just like along with the model policies, if you will, of the current Virginia Beach public schools by the school board, it should be worked, and parents should make sure and be involved in all of those decisions. Virtual advice the school in any way, shape, or form without consent by the parents, without discussion by the parents, working with the children. There are reasons why minors can't do certain things on their own, and these type of things are critical. They shouldn't be doing on their own either. But absolutely support, not discriminating against women, but transgenders should be given opportunities as well. Just shouldn't be mixed where people feel uncomfortable, to participate in sports or be in the locker room. Thank you.
Rose?
So, I'm going to say this. I'm really adamant in my values, and I am wholeheartedly going to support girls' bathrooms, boys' bathrooms, girls' sports, boys' sports. And you can count on it. I will not waver on that. And our children need that. They need to know that we support that as well. To me, if a male walked in on me as I was using a restroom, he would be walking out with a black eye. That would freak me out. Imagine what it does to little kids. So there's no room on the table. I am adamant about what I just said. Thanks.
So as a former athlete, having a daughter who was an athlete, having a daughter-in-law who was the tennis state champ in the state of Maryland, I can tell you 100% I will not support boys and women's sports. We actually did a great job going through the whole Governor Youngkin transgender policy, which, by the way, we actually had a unanimous, almost unanimous vote, a bipartisan support to make sure that that policy went through. A lot of people in this room did some great work to make that happen. So no, I do not support that. But I do have to make sure that everybody understands when it comes to the bathrooms, there is a law, a precedent that has taken place in the state of Virginia, Graham versus Gloucester County. We need to be working at a much higher level than school board to ensure that if we don't want girls and boys bathrooms, we are working diligently to see that go away. All right, so that is something that we have to work on together.
Shannon?
I too was an athlete. I played basketball all 4 years of high school and volleyball, and it would not be fair to me to have to play against biological males. If Caitlin Bruce Jenner says it's wrong, it's not okay. And so, no, I don't support that. It's not fair to young women who have fought to be able to have the ability to play athletics. It's our way to college, it's our way to scholarships, it's our way to opportunity, and that we shouldn't allow our kids to be robbed of the hard work they're putting in to be able to play their sport.
Vincent?
So I'm going to pull this down to a little bit baser level. Women fought hard for, 100 years, 200 years in this country to get some of these rights, and then in 2-3 years, they've been wiped off the map, and it's wrong, okay? Women will get hurt if boys play against women, if men play against women. I believe that on the bathroom issue, I agree. Some of this is a state level issue, which makes it an unfunded mandate. If you need to revise the architecture of the schools, where's the money going to come from to do that? Because whatever's on your birth certificate should be controlling which bathroom you're using. And if you don't have enough single point access bathrooms to accommodate the population of the school, then you need to revise the architecture of your school.
Okay, so, after this is Noah.
Well, I think it's pretty uncontroversial to say, and even if you look at polling at the country at large, the majority of people believe the boys should stay in boys' bathrooms and girls should stay in girls' bathrooms, and that's what I believe, and that's what I will ensure it stays that way when I'm on the school board. The girls that participate in school sports and stuff, they often work, years and years to get to the point where they can compete at state and sometimes national levels, and with that comes money for college and university, and to strip them of that is completely wrong, and I don't believe we shouldn't be doing that.
Okay, so Noah was the last one on that. Rose, you get the fifth question, you get to start, okay? So, these are on the grading. Do you support support grading, do you support grading 0 on work not turned in instead of 50? And would you promote opt-in on curriculum for parents instead of opt-out? I'm putting them together because it's some of the questions.
Okay, so that is ridiculous. No. The student gets what they earned. What are we trying to tell them? What are we teaching them? That you don't have to try so hard. That makes no sense to me. I'm old-fashioned. They get the grade that they deserve. They have to put the work in.
Okay, Jennifer? Oh, opt-in or opt-out on curriculum, and do you support 0 on work not turned in instead of 50?
So,
That was the question, you just answered.
okay.
Well, I just asked them together, so
Oh,
whatever you
okay.
could fit in 1 minute.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. So, well, I'm actually proud to announce that Virginia Beach Division is changing their grading practices so that it's not going to be a 50 at this point. So we are going back to that because we've heard from the parents, we've heard from the community that that is a concern. So we are reevaluating that, and we're going to be taking a look at that again. So I'm happy to announce that that might be a non-issue. So I would say that yes, we are going to be looking at bringing back, you get the grade that you have. And in terms of opting in versus opt out, I think that is something we need to take to the community, quite frankly, because some parents are overwhelmed with the amount of information that they get. So depending on what the issue is, that is going to be what determines the opt-in or opt-out option. Because for some parents, having to opt in into something is much more difficult than opting out of something because they might be missing an opportunity. So I think it depends on whatever we're discussing at that point.
Shannon?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues, especially Rose. I think, you earn the grade that you demonstrate your aptitude for, and it needs to be equal across the board. And with the complexities of the certain issues, the opt-in, opt-out, I don't think it should be straight across the board. I think depending on the issue, that is when we would provide either of those options.
Vincent?
So let's talk about math. Okay, this is not a question about whether students should get grades they didn't earn. This is a question about math. A 0 is a 0. You're looking at a guy who makes a living with math, right? This is a question between math and statistics. Math is infallible. If you don't do the work, you get a 0. Statistics are ethically challenged. They usually lean towards the bias of whoever paid for them. So that when you, and I hear it over and over in the school board meetings from staff, we haven't lowered the bar. Well, maybe you haven't lowered the bar, but you sure raised the ground, right?
When I was in the public school system, I was in it during a time where you didn't turn in an assignment and you got a 0. And let me just say, there were some assignments I didn't turn in, and yes, my mom came after me for it. So I didn't really see any particular reason to change it. Back when I was in high school, I would support a return to 0s for no assignments turned in, that kind of thing, because speaking just from a student perspective, it kind of sucks seeing that 0 on your grade thing, and you go to your teacher, and a lot of times teachers are willing to help you out, to change it and stuff like that, and that's great. But if you don't turn something in, you get a 0 for it. And in terms of opt-in, opt-out, I think that's based on the curriculum. Some certain things, you have a very small percentage that would be interested in something like that, and so it'd make more sense for them to opt in rather than opt out, and vice versa for something. So it depends on the particular curriculum.
Monty?
Thank you. I think absolutely, if 0 is earned, then a 0 should be given. Look, I mentioned in my introduction that students will meet the bar wherever we set it, right? We set it low, then they'll meet it. Sure, you're going to have some that will continue to reach for great heights. I don't think it's any surprise when we look at our math and reading abilities of our current students, whether it's giving them points that's not setting them up for success as they get ready to go out into the real world, out in the communities and be competitive in the world. When they don't need to be, when they're being kept out of schools, it should be no surprise why in these last few years, why the scores have gotten to where they are. And we need to make sure that we set the bar for them because they will achieve it. And then they will be better prepared as they head out into the real world. And then our future community leaders will be best prepared to take on the challenges which we all know are extremely difficult as we walk out into adulthood.
Read.
Okay, Rose, did you answer that question? No, right? Yes. Okay, you did. You started that. I always get confused. Okay, so Jennifer will get the first one this time. Where do you stand on school choice?
So I think that's a complicated issue. We're going to have to do a lot of investigation on how to look at that issue. I think that a lot of things that are talked about nationally, once we get down to the minutia and trying to figure out how it fits for your division and how we can maintain a strong division that everyone in Virginia Beach is proud of. I can tell you, I'm in the real estate world, and people look at schools, and that's what brings people to Virginia Beach. And so anything that we're going to do to create a strong division is something I would be in support of. But I would want to make sure that we take a look at it, figure out how it's going to impact families, especially those families who don't have options, where public school is the only option. I was a single mom for 8 years. I could not have afforded to do anything other than send my daughter to private school. So for me personally, it's to make sure that we maintain the greatness of our division, and I'm never against anything, but I want to make sure that we have great discussions.
Janet?
I think school choice should be available, especially for those who have strong religious held beliefs. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable with some of the things that are coming down from the federal government that are indoctrinating our children. And so I think that we need to have that there. And also, I do understand the plight of those who can't afford to put their children in private school. And yes, there could be these voucher opportunities, but will they be able to afford them? So I do want to make sure that we also keep our public schools strong as well for those who can't afford to have their child in a private school. But we do need to protect our values and what our children are being taught.
Vincent?
Could you repeat the question, please?
School choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your position on school choice?
Yes.
I've talked with a lot of people on this too, and Jennifer mentioned a lot of families and stuff, they can't afford private school, and so the only option is public school. But I think it would also be a great alternate option for them. We spend about averages around $20,000 per student in the public school system. Money goes towards some students, maybe less of that money goes towards, but if imagine being a single mom and being able to take that $20,000 that's spent on your student in the public school system and then taking that to maybe a school of their choice or being able to use it for their living expenses or something like that, it would help a lot of people out.
Monty?
Yes, I absolutely support school choice, right? And I look at the Virginia Beach School Board and the Virginia Beach City Public Schools. I think our job is to make the city public schools a solid option that our parents are comfortable with and they're proud of, so that it is an option. There are many parents that are sending their kids to private school who don't really have the resources to do so. They may be homeschooling them because they don't really have the time or resources to do so, and yet they're not comfortable all the time sending them to a public school. And so I think we need to make sure that we make the Virginia Beach City Public Schools a solid option so that those who do not want to have the resources to send to public school, don't want to homeschool, they are confident that their child is going to get the best educational experience possible. Thank you.
So I'm going to knock it out of the park. Yes, I believe in parental rights. Thank you. And for every parent to have the right to choose where their student goes to school. And I believe in vouchers. Bring them on. And the money should follow the child. And guess what will happen? Our public schools will get better. You can bank on it. Because now they'll have competition out there.
This one is homeschool students must receive approval from the school district under the school board. What is your view of homeschool under supervision, religious exemption?
start on this one.
So I value homeschool, and when I was at the assistant director of the Robertson School of Government, the best students that we had coming to schools, to our college, were homeschoolers. They scored the best on their exams. They outperformed everyone. There's something magical about homeschool, and I want to fully support it as much as possible. Religious exemptions, that's the right, and we should protect that right for parents to opt out of public school due to religious exemption, and we shouldn't bother with that. It's their right to do that and make sure their children are educated based on their values. But I support homeschool 100%. It's a blessing to our country.
I absolutely support homeschooling, and like Shannon said, if you've ever met some of these students, they usually far surpass the students that come out of public schools. I think that it's not always the case, but statistically, it's almost always the case. But we do need to have some minimum standards for the students who are homeschooled so that we make sure that they do receive an education and make them successful members of society.
Noah?
Some of my closest friends that I have were homeschooled, all through what would be their K through 12, and they're some of the brightest people I know. A lot of the excuse me, a lot of the misunderstanding behind homeschool. You hear one of the major disagreements where it's oh, you want them to be socialized and stuff. The homeschooling these days is not just standing in your house, sitting on your computer for 8 hours a day, learning by themselves. There's co-opting. A lot of times they have groups of other homeschool students that they do activities with, or classes or stuff like that. So I think homeschooling is a proponent for plenty of people who feel like the public school system isn't doing all it needs to be, and I see no problem with it. And yeah.
Okay, Monty, you're next. And after you're done speaking, could you mute your phone in between? Would you still be able to hear us? Because we're getting some feedback.
I will certainly do that. As I mentioned in my last answer, of course, I value and support parental rights. The parents have determined they want to homeschool their children, and they absolutely have the right to do so. Now, I don't think it's within the Virginia Beach City Public Schools or the Virginia Beach School Board providing oversight. There are certainly bodies that can do that to ensure certain standards are met. But absolutely, if parents want to do that, they've got the rights to do so, and fully support, just like I mentioned in my last question, how it is that they get the best educational experience possible for their precious children.
Rose. No, Shannon was first on that.
Yeah, I was first.
She was first on the question on homeschooling.
So yes, my daughter is currently homeschooling her 5-year-old. He's in a homeschool co-op. So yes, I wholeheartedly support homeschool. Whatever that parent chooses, however they choose to educate their child, and we need to support that.
Okay, Jennifer?
I actually 100% homeschool option. I think that it's wonderful. My best friend homeschooled her 4 kids, and she did an amazing job. She was a former teacher. It was a great option for her. I would like to make sure that we understand, though, that public school teachers have got sometimes a classroom of 29 kids, and I want to give a shout out to our public school teachers as well, who are doing an amazing job. But I do absolutely support the homeschool option, and allowing that option and providing a religious exemption for those parents that request that. I will say that I've seen the best and worst. We have examples of parents who want to do homeschool, so I do think that there should be some accountability to make sure that we understand that that's their option, because we don't want those kids, which I've seen in some households, where they're just keeping their kids at home. And so without making sure that the curriculum and that the education is being provided. So I do want to make sure we have that option to all parents.
Okay, so Vincent, you get the first question this time. What's your position on collective bargaining?
Monty, mute your mic.
It's coming from yours, Diana.
I muted mine. So I thought it was,
He did.
okay. It is mute, so is that coming from there?
Coming from yours, Diana. Your phone up there. It's up.
I muted mine.
Okay, we're good now.
Vincent, collective bargaining.
No. All right, I'll give you a little bit more information on this one.
That's enough.
My vote is no. But we can also treat our employees a little better. We can do better for them with the enormous budget that we have.
Noah.
Collective bargaining as it stands and the discussions they've had in city council and other school boards, I would not support collective bargaining. I think it doesn't help the teachers in the way that they need to. It forces a lot of teachers and stuff to, be a part of this system that maybe they don't want to be for, and it groups all teachers into one lump group and thinks that they all want the same thing or they all have the same needs. And personally, I think there are better ways other than collective bargaining.
Monty. Let me unmute my phone first. Dad.
Okay, no, I do not currently support collective bargaining. I absolutely support all of our public servants that are out there. I absolutely support our public teachers. As I talk to numerous teachers of all grade levels and all experience levels, the conversation of pay never comes up. Doesn't mean they should not be adequately paid for the great job that they do. But they want to be able to teach our children. They want the support of our administrators, so the extra cost that come about with collective bargaining that would not funnel into their paycheck actually detracts more. And when we talk to the individuals that are out there, that's not their number one concern. So the costs don't directly go to the individuals, so I would not currently support collective bargaining.
Rose.
What do I think of collective bargaining? I don't. It doesn't work. It's been proven that it doesn't work. And here's something to think about. We're one General Assembly vote away from our teachers being able to strike. And that's scary. Then what do? What does that look like? That would look like a nightmare. And it would mean long hours in litigation and God knows what else, but it's just too risky. No. And I think few people even understand and have knowledge enough to know what really collective bargaining is, but it is a nightmare. And no, our city of Virginia Beach does not need it. So no, I vote no.
Jennifer.
Well, since I'm running for the school board and sit on the school board, I will tell you that I do not believe that we should have collective bargaining in our school division. We actually did a comprehensive look at collective bargaining when we were allowed to have that through the General Assembly, and we basically discovered that it was going to take almost $1 million just to consider, to get somebody to look into how we would put this bargaining unit together. And we don't have that. We talk about our budget. We are using our budget. In fact, some of you might have heard that we have things that are happening in the state that are trying to hit our budget. We have over $12 million in unfunded mandates that we've got to, that immediately hit our budget every single year that are coming from the state. So right now, I do not believe that our division can support even looking at this option. And so I would say no for right now.
Shannon.
Reed.
We have the premier division, school division in our state, and our administrators are looking comprehensively at the various needs through surveys and things that our teachers and staff need. And I believe that we can create an environment and experience for our staff and teachers to where they won't need collective bargaining. We have the resources, we're putting in the reforms, and I like the changes that I'm seeing. And so no, I don't think that we even need to entertain it because we have the means to work within the resources that we currently have. So no.
Okay, Noah, you will get the first question this time. Do you support or oppose changing the bylaw to permit citizens to speak on each agenda item for 3 minutes as they do on city council? Right now, they just get 3 minutes on.
To speak on, to have speaking chances on specific bylaws when
Well,
they...
say there are 3 things that are on the agenda and you want to speak on each one of them. That would, you would get up every time that came up, or like they do on city council, they bring up that agenda, you get 3 minutes. They bring up the next thing on the agenda, you get 3 minutes. Right now, you just get 3 minutes on the whole agenda.
Well, as someone who's spoken at school board meetings before, 3 minutes is nowhere near enough time to say all the things that you want to say. I do know school board meetings, they can run late. a lot of times. I know they've ran way into almost the wee hours of the morning sometimes. And while I wouldn't discount any opportunity to let our citizens, speak more and have their voices heard at meetings and stuff, maybe we look at, lower speaking times for specific bylaws and allowing the 3 minutes for general speaking time as well. Personally, I at the very least know I wouldn't support any lowering of the amount of speaking time that they already have.
Okay, Monty.
I think that certainly is critical that, our concerned citizens can voice their concerns on all the issues that may be in front of the school board, just like a citizen would be elsewhere. I think there's certainly things that we could look at with multiple issues, a little bit along the lines of what Noah was saying there, depending upon how many issues that were there. But I think a lot of the problems that I see is that, we as adults, whether it be school board members, whether it be citizens, is showing a respect for one another. So a lot of the times and things that drive to these going late is because we don't really have the ability to effectively collaborate with one another. So I'm not for reducing the time that citizens can express their concerns. I think that goes along with trying to quiet those that you may not agree with, which I don't agree with. Thank you.
Rose.
So I think the solution is for our school board meetings to go live, and that way parents can engage and they can respond accordingly, and we can see as they come up what their comments are. And I think that would be a good resolve. A lot of parents are not able to get out on weeknights. They have school children. The meetings do run over. When they go, they want to speak. They want to be able to speak longer. But this way, they're involved in the meetings. They're live, and I think they should be live. And I think they should be able to voice their opinion. And I hope they do once they do go live. And I would vote for that and support it.
Jennifer?
So I just want to make sure people understand they are live. We don't take live interaction, but they are live. You can watch it as it's happening. And I want to just say that, as somebody who has sat through the first year of being at a school board meeting till 3:30 in the morning, because we wanted to allow those voices, I just reminded members at the time when we were taking this vote to go from 4 minutes to 3 minutes. It had always been 3 minutes, but then during a period of time where we didn't have a lot of speakers, we upped it to 4 minutes. But then when we were having a lot of speakers, then all of a sudden it was forcing us to be there until 3:30 in the morning. And if you truly want to be heard, you don't want a school board member there until 3:30 in the morning. I'm just going to say that. It's not as effective at 3:30 in the morning that it isn't at 7 o'clock in the evening. So I would say you have three options. It goes for information. It goes for consent or action. You've got emails. So there are lots of opportunities that you have to make sure that your voice can be heard. Please use them.
Shannon?
First of all, we're servant leaders. We're here because you elected us, you put us in position, and if you take the time to come out to let us know what's on your mind, we need to hear you. We need to hear you. I want to hear you. I also want to make sure that we have an orderly process to where everyone who takes the time to come to speak to us can be heard. We want to make sure that, we want to make sure everyone gets heard, and if we increase the time, that's fine. I don't think we should minimize below the 3, but we're here to serve you. We need to hear from you, and we need to make decisions based on the guidance of the constituents that put us in position to serve them.
Vincent?
We'll come at this from two different angles. We have a city charter that requires the school board to be elected in the same way that the city council is elected. I know this isn't the same thing. City council takes input that way. Why can't the school board? It works there. So the second half of this is votes have consequences. When the city elects members to the school board that are doing a good job, they're not there till 3:30 in the morning.
Monty, you get the first question this time. The school funding formula is up for reconsideration. Do you propose any specific changes to the local funding formula?
Okay, sorry, there was some talk going on near the microphone. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. The school funding formula is up for reconsideration. Do you propose any specific changes to the local funding formula?
Okay, no, I currently do not. I mean, I realize, and I think you're talking about like the revenue sharing formula versus the needs-based formula. I'll tell you, in the U.S. Navy, it wasn't called a needs-based formula, but I'll tell you, I realize some things that there's more accountability. But I think when we start showing some fiscal responsibility to that, it's a little bit more predictable, if you will. So I currently do not have any recommended changes at this time for that. Thank you.
Rose.
I support the current, which is the revenue sharing formula. I believe that's what it's called, instead of the needs-based formula. I really don't know much about the needs-based formula, but I think at $1.2 billion, we can make it happen. So no, I think we should stay on course where we're at and be fiscally responsible.
Jennifer.
So I 100% support the revenue sharing formula. I would like to make sure, though, that the division, just like when you're trying to budget for your expenses, it would be great to have a budget that we could depend on, though. So when it comes to budget season, that we're not worried about shortfalls and everything else that impact. So I would love for this to be a situation where we don't necessarily have to worry about, are we going to be $12.5 million short in this budget this year? Because that really impacts us when we have to work on teacher salaries, compensation, health benefits. So just like when you're trying to budget, it would be best if we had a revenue sharing formula from sources that we know that we could depend on annually, year after year, so that we could develop a budget that made sense. One thing that I would like to say is one thing we have to work on as well is to make sure that we're looking at when we are putting our budget out, because of the fact that we put it out first, so then the other divisions have an opportunity to pay our teachers more. So I think that that is also an important factor in where we are.
Shannon.
I agree. Revenue sharing, I support it, and we do need to put our budget out at a different time.
Vincent.
So needs-based or revenue sharing, you have to remember that this is just a negotiating point in the grand scheme of a budget that lasts for a year. It's where you start. If it was a hard, fast dollar amount, then there wouldn't be a reversion process. So that I don't think there's anything wrong with the revenue sharing formula at this time. I also think that in the near future, our capital projects are going to require the city to recognize that they're going to have to step outside of that to fix that problem.
No.
I support the current, budget revenue formula. I don't foresee any specific changes that I would propose. As it stands, it's the way it's been working for a while, and there's no real reason to change it. The budget is always more or less fluid. You make a budget proposal and you advance it, but there's always wiggle room with whenever things come down to it. So.
Okay, so the first question will go to Rose. There's several questions here on pornographic books in the library.
No. Absolutely not. We have no need for that. And how many parents here actually read their children those bedtime stories at night? I mean, can we just honestly realize that this is garbage? This is a bunch of crap that we don't need in our library, and once and for all, we need to get rid of it.
Well, I'm actually really proud that in our division, we have done a great job of making sure that parents have options, and we have a controversial book policy that allows the parents. We just put a committee in place to make sure that we talked about what parents have the availability to know, because there was a concern that how am I supposed to know that this book is in the library? So now we have a committee that is working through that particular concern. So we hear concerns in our division. We want to make sure that the community knows that, but please know that there is a controversial book policy. So if you can 100% make sure that if you don't agree with a book, that book and that book will not be allowed in your child's hands from elementary school all the way to high school. So you have a way to be proactive as a parent and ensure that your children are following the values that you have as a family.
Shannon?
Children only get one childhood, just one. And they have their whole adult life to make decisions around sexuality. Let kids be kids and protect them from this adult content. It doesn't have a place in the schools.
I'm glad to see that, to the best of my knowledge, these books are being removed from elementary schools at this time. But I will tell you, they don't belong in the schools, period. I will tell you that the people who scream, "You're here to burn books." No. I'm here to tell you that every one of these books is available on Amazon for about $4 on your front porch tomorrow. I'm not going to get between a parent and what they think their child needs to read. I'm never going to do that. Walk down to the public library. Public library lets you download the books on your phone. You don't need to provide this in the school for the child. One. And the taxpayer's paying for it. Good point. But I will also tell you that we need to step back and we need to decide what the purpose of the school's libraries are. Because in elementary school, I will tell you that recreational reading is very important. If you don't get students interested in reading at those ages, they will never be interested in reading and they'll struggle to learn. As you get into middle and high school, I think we need to take a step back and decide, are these libraries here to support the curriculum and provide recreational reading, or just support the curriculum?
Noah.
So as I'm a youth leader at my church, and one of the things you notice, and I'm sure all you parents and grandparents know, kids, elementary or older, they're on their phones 24/7, and they have access to who knows what outside of school, so we shouldn't be providing them access to that inside of school. And, I think the system that we put forward to, help with the controversial materials and stuff and weed those out is a good step towards that. I think we could make improvements in it. From people in my district, what I typically hear is they think we're trying to give rid of books about slavery or African American history in America. Those books are not being removed from the libraries. It's always important to learn about it's such an important part of our history and stuff. But as for the pornographic material and stuff, I don't think it belongs in our schools whatsoever. Thanks.
Monty.
Absolutely not. Right? And I say absolutely not, and I would also say that I support, the library contents committee that's already been mentioned. And I realize there have been things in place that apparently haven't been working, so I completely support that committee. And then I would say that beyond pornographic is not to get hung up, not this group here, but individuals that may be saying, hey, there's not pornographic, because there is clearly sexually explicit material in there. And I went to grab some of these books, opened up to random pages and read it, and I would be completely disgusted if my children in the schools were allowed to read that in the Virginia Beach public schools. So absolutely not to include other sexually explicit materials that you can get and buy and read as an adult, or you can do for your child at home. Thank you.
Okay. So that is the end of the question period. We are now going to go to closing comments. And after the closing comments, you can ask the questions of the candidates yourselves if they agree to stay around and do that. Okay? Because we're running out of time. So Monty, you will be the first on the closing argument, and it'll go to Noah on up. Okay?
All right, thank you. Well, thank you again, Diane and the Virginia Beach Tea Party, and I appreciate everyone's time. It's certainly a passionate time looking out for our precious children, our community leaders, and I thank you for that. We may not all agree, right? But we've got answers in mind. My background, over 32 plus years at U.S. Navy, where I absolutely represented individuals, which I will continue to do. I collaborated at the highest level when the stakes were the highest and lives were the balance, and will do so, and then as you heard me talk here today. Thank you.
Noah?
Well, I think if one word encompasses, the reason why I'm running is investment. I've lived here my entire life. I've spent 13 years in Virginia Beach public school systems, and if you take how much money that means that the city's invested in me and all those times in public school, it's around $260,000. So I think the least I can do now is return that investment in some small way, and if that means serving on the school board, then I'm more than happy to do it. As my time as a youth leader, I believe I bring a much different perspective than a lot of the current school board members. I interact with these kids, middle school, high school, elementary, on a weekly basis, and I know the actual struggles that they themselves are going and facing in the school system, and I believe I have a lot to bring to change the things going on. Thanks.
Vincent?
Well, first I want to just thank you for being here, and second I want to tell you why I'm doing this. I feel like I've reached a point in my career where I'm not sure I want to go any further. I don't want my boss's job. I don't want her boss's job. But I do feel like I have more than I can give to the community, and this is how I've chosen to do it. I also feel like I am very much the best qualified candidate in my race to support the schools in the way that we need them to be supported and to keep them moving forward and successful. And I do also want to ask one thing of you. Please come out and support Rose, Shannon, Monty, Noah, and myself in our races. This is a presidential race, and we don't get a lot of attention in these races, and we do need your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for allowing us to be here. And I have to say, you know, the people who are running to come on the board, it would be an honor and a privilege to have you become my colleague. I am so excited about you guys. I really hope you win your races because we have a lot of work to do. I was appointed to this seat earlier this year, and I thought I would just serve out the term and be done. But after being on the board and seeing the various challenges that we're looking at, I know that I need to stay, I need to remain because servant leadership is important, and I want to be able to represent my district as well as the values that we have on our school board. And it takes, to be a school board member today, it takes courage, it takes boldness. It's shocking the battles that lie right here at the school board level. And like you said, it's a presidential election, yes, but this government level is crucial. And I know that I have the integrity to serve and the desire to do what's needed for such a time as this.
Do you mind, Diane? I did get an opening remark.
Yes.
Do you mind if I just, because I have a few things to say.
Yes. So I'll give you 2 minutes for your
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so basically, that's fine. If somebody has an issue with it, I'm not going to argue about this. But essentially, I just want to.
Please be quiet while she's speaking. Just be quiet.
Okay. So I just want to tell you, I mean, I actually agree with some, many of the Tea Party principles. You build a solution. And I have to tell you, when I first was campaigning for school board in 2020, what I heard the most was this is a dysfunctional school board. This is a board that can't get along, that isn't doing anything, that isn't doing what they need to do. It's because people were not communicating. I've been a business coach for over 10 years. I've been working in the community. I talk to people all the time. That was the biggest thing that they were talking about. I am happy to say that we have a lot more cohesiveness. I appreciate Shannon being on the board and helping with that. I appreciate Mike being on the board and Kathleen. And we're working together to build solutions. And I love that. And I'm going to tell you something, that we need more of that. When I am doing business coaching, I cannot tell you, if we are not communicating, it's very hard to build solutions. We need to make sure that communication happens, and that doesn't happen by not talking to your colleagues. That doesn't happen by not talking to the superintendent. That all needs to happen. And so if we're going to be solution-based, which I am, I'm going, and I know I'm seeing some reactions in there, and I'm going to just tell you, one of the things that I just want to say is I have been pinged on a lot, but nobody frequently wants to listen to my response. And I just want to talk about the 3 things that I originally ran on. I ran on restoring valedictorian, salutatorian, making sure that we were continuing our great work on workforce development. And then also making sure we're looking at discipline issues. And so we brought back Val Sal, but you know what? We also made sure that we kept the Lab and Honor system, which is a great system to have continue in our division so that we are making sure that all kids have an opportunity to try and excel. And then we're doing great things with workforce. So I would love your continued support and just give me an opportunity to finish what I started.
Rose.
So I just want to say thank you again to the Tea Party and the Libertarian Party is represented, and everyone else, whatever party, hopefully Republican or Democrat, whoever you are, thank you for coming. And I want to say this. I was a single mom to 5 kids. I'm tough. And I know on that board what I stood here tonight and told you, and what I canvass on, the promises and the values that I make. You can count on me delivering. As Jennifer was speaking, I was reminded of several things in her tenure on the board. She did not live up to the promises that she campaigned on. She disappointed a lot of people. She traded her votes. She abstained from votes when it came time for tough decisions. I won't. I know how to make tough decisions, and I know how to roll up my sleeves and get the job done. I was raised by a Marine, and I was one of 8 kids, and I had to fight, and I'm still fighting. And the future generation means a lot to me. It means everything, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm going to fight for every one of those students in Virginia Beach City. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, and I'm going to just tell you, it's interesting because, again, those are the 3 things that I ran on. If you heard or talked to me while I was campaigning, there was a lot I talked about, and I'm not sure what the expectation was, but I've got to say, I wasn't a minion. And I was given this, and I have got to tell you that I have gone through 22 years in the military, fought my way. I'm one of 8 children as well. And I want to tell you that these decisions are tough, and I'm here to help you make them.
Okay, good. Thank you all for coming.